Welcome to Cyber Forces with Andrea Garcia, where we amplify voices that illuminate the digital world. Together, we explore cybersecurity, cyber resilience, technology, leadership, and the human stories behind digital risk. Imagine this. You upgrade the firmware on a cheap home router because the pop-up said, "Security update." 2 days later, your small business email is relayed through an unfamiliar server, online orders fail, and a family photo backup disappears. It started with one routine update and cascaded into a wider compromise. In the next 7 minutes, you'll learn what supply chain risk really means for everyday devices, why ordinary gadgets can carry hidden risks, and 5 simple, non-technical steps you can use immediately to reduce exposure. I'll also share 2 short case studies and a checklist you can keep by the kettle. Let's start with a plain explanation. A supply chain and technology is not a faraway factory. It's every link that brings a device to life. Think of a smart speaker, silicon chips from one country, firmware written by a developer in another, a mobile app designed elsewhere, cloud services that store voice recordings, and local installers who set it up. Each link is a place where risk can be introduced. A useful analogy is a loaf of bread. The flour, the oven, the baker, the delivery van. If one ingredient is contaminated, the whole loaf can be affected. In tech, contamination can be a compromised chip, a buggy firmware update, or a malicious third-party library hidden in an otherwise legitimate app. The result is devices that behave in ways you did not expect. Now 2 real-world mini case studies. First, a home router with compromised firmware. A popular consumer brand pushed an update through a third-party mechanism. That update was tampered with, and attackers gained persistent access to local traffic. Families noticed strange adverts and login failures. Small businesses experienced invoice redirects, money heading to the wrong account. Second, a third-party installer. A local IT vendor delivered what seemed like a routine update to a point-of-sale device. The update bundled a utility the vendor used. That utility later became a vector for data exfiltration. The business lost customer trust and spent weeks restoring systems and records. And they were a micro-business with limited recovery resources. What's the human impact? Stress, lost income, interrupted routines, and importantly, a sense that the digital world is fragile. But there is good news. Most of this is manageable with simple, human-centered practices. We don't need to be engineers to make meaningful reductions in risk. Here are strategic insights you can act on now. First, vendor vetting. Ask plain questions. Who made this device? Who provides updates? And where are updates delivered from? If a vendor won't answer, treat them with caution. Second, prioritize devices. Not everything is critical. Start with routers, cameras, and payment systems. High-impact devices deserve higher scrutiny. Third, firmware hygiene. Keep automatic updates where trustworthy, but for devices from lesser-known brands, delay auto installation and validate release notes. Backup configurations before updates. Fourth, network segmentation. Put smart home gadgets on a separate Wi-Fi network or guest VLAN from your work devices. It's a low-cost barrier that prevents a single compromised gadget from touching everything. Fifth, procurement and maintenance habits. Keep simple records, serial numbers, vendor contacts, and when warranties or support expire. If you hire installers, ask about their update practices and insist on minimum security checks. And consider insurance. Cyber insurance for small businesses can help with recovery costs, but read exclusions and ask how they treat supply chain incidents. I want to pause here and speak to the busy listener. I know time and budgets are tight. You can't fix everything at once. Start with bite-sized steps. Segment the network today, change default passwords on your router, and record the make and model of critical devices. Small actions add up. Remember, resilience is built before the crisis. Now, practical takeaways. A 5-point checklist to use today. 1. Identify and list your critical devices. 2. Change defaults and enable known secure passwords. 3. Put non-essential gadgets on a separate network. 4. Delay or review updates for untrusted brands and backup configurations before applying them. 5. Keep a simple procurement log and ask vendors about update supply chains and third-party components. Questions to raise with suppliers or your insurer. Do your updates come from a single sign source who audits your firmware and supply partners? How would an incident affect my data or payments? Practical questions like these signal seriousness, and they often lead to better contracts and clearer responsibilities. Before we close, a human reflection. Convenience and price are real factors. We want devices that are easy to use and affordable. But balancing convenience with resilience is a leadership choice. For families, that might mean teaching children safe habits and keeping sensitive devices on separate networks. For founders, it means accepting a small upfront cost to avoid major disruption later. Cybersecurity is about people before technology. If this episode helped, please share it on social media and tag @cyberbosses. Tell us which device you secured today. Share the checklist with a neighbor or fellow founder. Small acts of awareness build community resilience. Digital trust matters, and when we raise questions together, we make better choices. Thank you for listening to Cyber Voices. Remember, cybersecurity is not only about technology. It is about protecting what we value most. Stay curious, stay resilient, and take care in the digital world.